The rain hammered against the windows of my small coastal cottage in Maine, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I'm Elias, 44, a marine biologist, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had the perfect life. A loving wife, a cozy home overlooking the turbulent Atlantic, and a career I was passionate about. My wife, Juniper, was a vibrant, successful architect. We'd met at a conference in Boston years ago, and I was immediately captivated by her energy and sharp wit. We married 2 years later and settled into a comfortable routine, or so I thought. It started subtly. Juniper began working late more frequently, claiming deadlines and demanding clients. I naively accepted her explanations without question. I'd often cook dinner for just myself, leaving a plate for her in the fridge, which would often go untouched. Our conversations dwindled to logistical necessities: who was picking up groceries, whose turn it was to walk the dog, Orion, our old golden retriever. The warmth that had once characterized our relationship had slowly cooled, replaced by a chilling distance. One evening, Juniper told me she had to fly to Chicago for a last-minute project. A prestigious firm wanted her input on a new skyscraper design, and she couldn't pass up the opportunity. I helped her pack, kissed her goodbye at the airport, and waved until she disappeared through security. I felt a pang of loneliness as I drove home, but I chalked it up to missing her. I missed her laughter, her touch, her presence. I missed us. The next day, I decided to surprise Juniper by sending her flowers to her hotel in Chicago. I called her office to get the hotel information, but her assistant, a young woman named Hazel, seemed flustered. "Juniper isn't in Chicago, Elias," she said hesitantly. She took some personal time." My heart lurched. Personal time, but she told me she was in Chicago for work. Hazel's silence was deafening. I thanked her and hung up, my mind reeling. I tried calling Juniper, but her phone went straight to voicemail. A cold dread washed over me, a feeling I hadn't experienced since I was a child, lost in a crowded marketplace. I began pacing the cottage, Orion watching me with worried eyes. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I decided to check our bank statements online. We had a joint account, and I usually didn't pay much attention to the transactions, trusting Juniper to manage our finances. But now, a gnawing suspicion propelled me forward. As I scrolled through the recent activity, I saw a series of charges that made my blood run cold. Expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, and jewelry stores, all in Portland, Maine. And all within the past week. While Juniper was supposedly in Chicago, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The air left my lungs and I stumbled, grabbing onto the kitchen counter for support. Portland was only an hour's drive from our cottage. She hadn't been in Chicago. She'd been lying to me right under my nose. The next few hours were a blur of disbelief and frantic energy. I couldn't sit still. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I decided to drive to Portland, hoping to catch Juniper in her lie. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation, a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew the truth was far more sinister. As I drove, I replayed our entire relationship in my mind, searching for clues I might have missed, red flags I had ignored. Had I been too complacent, too trusting? Had I somehow driven her into someone else's arms? The self-doubt was crippling, but I pushed it aside. I refused to believe that I was to blame for her betrayal. I arrived in Portland and started with the hotel listed on the bank statement, the Grandview Inn, a swanky boutique hotel overlooking the harbor. I walked into the lobby, trying to appear calm and collected, and approached the front desk. "I'm looking for Juniper," I said to the receptionist, a young man with a bored expression. "She's supposed to be staying here." The receptionist typed something into the computer. "Can I have a last name?" he asked. I hesitated. "Just check for Juniper. She might have checked in under a different name." He raised an eyebrow but complied, typing in various combinations. Finally, he looked up. "Yes, we have a Juniper staying with us. Juniper and a guest. Room 302, a guest." The word echoed in my mind, confirming my worst fears. I thanked the receptionist, my voice barely a whisper, and turned towards the elevators. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely press the button. As I ascended to the third floor, I felt a strange detachment, as if I were watching myself in a movie. I found room 302 and stood outside the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear muffled voices inside, a woman's laughter, Juniper's laughter. I raised my hand to knock but then hesitated. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't want to see her, to confront her with her infidelity. The pain was already unbearable. I didn't know if I could handle any more. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started recording. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The voices inside stopped abruptly. After a moment, the door opened. Juniper stood there, her eyes wide with shock. Behind her, I saw a man standing in his undershirt, his face flushed. It was Quincy, my best friend since childhood. Elias, Juniper stammered, her face paling. "What are you doing here?" I didn't say anything. I just held up my phone, the red recording light blinking accusingly. Juniper's eyes darted to Quincy, then back to me. The realization of what I knew washed over her face. "Elias, please," she begged, her voice trembling. "Let me explain." "Explain what, Juniper?" I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Explain why you're in a hotel room with my best friend. Explain why you lied to me about being in Chicago. Explain why you've been betraying me for God knows how long." Quincy stepped forward, his expression a mixture of shame and defiance. "Elias, it's not what you think," he said, his voice strained. "Oh really, Quincy?" I scoffed. "Then tell me, what exactly is it?" Juniper burst into tears. "Elias, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I never meant for this to happen. It just happened, it just happened," I repeated, my voice rising. "You just happened to sleep with my best friend. You just happened to lie to my face. You just happened to destroy our marriage." I couldn't stand to look at them any longer. The betrayal was too much to bear. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing there in the doorway, their faces etched with guilt and shame. I walked out of the hotel, got into my car, and drove. I drove without a destination, without a plan, without any idea of what I was going to do next. The next few weeks were a living hell. I moved out of our cottage and into a small apartment in town. I filed for divorce. I cut off all contact with Juniper and Quincy. The pain was constant, a dull ache in my chest that never seemed to go away. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't focus on anything. My life had been shattered and I didn't know how to put it back together. My friends rallied around me, offering support and encouragement. My colleague, Blythe, was particularly helpful, listening to my endless rants and providing a much-needed distraction. She was kind, intelligent, and had a wicked sense of humor. Slowly, gradually, I started to feel like myself again. One day, Blythe invited me to a local art gallery opening. I hesitated at first, not wanting to face the world, but she insisted. "You need to get out there, Elias," she said. "You can't let Juniper and Quincy ruin your life." I reluctantly agreed, and to my surprise, I actually enjoyed myself. The art was interesting, the people were engaging, and Blythe's company was delightful. As the evening wore on, I found myself laughing for the first time in weeks. It was a small thing, but it felt like a victory. As we were leaving the gallery, I saw Juniper standing across the street talking to a man. It wasn't Quincy. This man was older, well-dressed, and had an air of authority about him. I watched them for a moment, a strange mix of curiosity and anger churning inside me. "Who's that?" Blythe asked, noticing my gaze. "That's Juniper," I said, my voice flat. "My soon-to-be ex-wife." Blythe frowned. "Who's she with?" "I have no idea," I said. "And frankly, I don't care," but I did care. I couldn't help but wonder who this man was and what he meant to Juniper. Was he another affair partner? Was he the reason she had cheated on me with Quincy? The questions swirled in my mind, refusing to be silenced. The next day, I decided to do some digging. I knew it was probably a bad idea, that I should just let it go and move on with my life, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to know the truth. I started by searching for Juniper's name online, hoping to find some information about her new companion. I found her LinkedIn profile, which listed her as a partner at a prestigious architecture firm in Portland. I then searched for the firm's website and looked through their list of employees. There he was, Theron, the firm's CEO. As I looked at his picture, a piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Juniper hadn't just had an affair with Quincy. She had been having an affair with Theron, her boss. Quincy was just a convenient distraction, a way to throw me off the scent. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Juniper hadn't just betrayed me. She had manipulated me, used me, and lied to me for her own gain. She had sacrificed our marriage for her career, for her ambition. The anger I felt was unlike anything I had ever experienced. I knew I couldn't let her get away with it. I needed to expose her to reveal her true nature to the world. But how? I couldn't just go around telling people she was a cheater. I needed proof, something concrete that would expose her lies. I remembered the bank statements. I went back online and downloaded all the transactions from the past year, searching for any other suspicious activity. It didn't take long to find it. There were several large payments made to a private investigator in Portland. A private investigator. What was Juniper investigating? I contacted the private investigator, a gruff woman named Willow, and explained my situation. At first, she was hesitant to share any information, citing client confidentiality. But when I told her that Juniper had been cheating on me with my best friend and her boss, she softened. "I can't tell you everything," Willow said, "but I can tell you that Juniper hired me to investigate you." "Investigate me," I said, incredulous. "Why, she suspected you were having an affair," Willow said. "She thought you were seeing someone else." I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "That's rich," I said. "She was the one who was cheating on me." "I know," Willow said. "I found out about her affair with Theron. That's why I quit the case. I don't work for cheaters." Willow agreed to give me copies of the evidence she had collected, including photos and videos of Juniper and Theron together. It was all the proof I needed. I decided to confront Juniper one last time. I called her and asked her to meet me at our favorite restaurant, the one where we had our first date. She hesitated but eventually agreed. When she arrived, she looked nervous and uneasy. She avoided my gaze, fidgeting with her hands. "Elias, what do you want?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I placed the evidence on the table, the photos, the videos, the bank statements. Juniper's eyes widened in horror. "What is this?" she stammered. "This is the truth, Juniper," I said, my voice cold and hard. "This is the evidence of your betrayal, your lies, your manipulation." Juniper started to cry. "Elias, please," she begged. "I can explain." "I don't want to hear your explanations, Juniper," I said. "I'm done with your lies. I'm done with you." I stood up and walked away, leaving her sitting there alone, her face buried in her hands. I never looked back. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. Juniper tried to fight it, claiming that I was being unreasonable, but the evidence was overwhelming. She eventually agreed to a settlement, but not before trying to smear my name and reputation. I didn't care. I had the truth on my side, and that was all that mattered. I moved on with my life, focusing on my work and my friends. I started dating Blythe, and to my surprise, I found myself falling in love again. She was everything Juniper wasn't: honest, loyal, and kind. One day, I received a phone call from Theron's wife, a woman named Isolde. She had found out about Juniper's affair with her husband and was furious. She thanked me for exposing Juniper and told me that she was filing for divorce. A few months later, I heard that Juniper had been fired from her job at the architecture firm. Her reputation was ruined, and no one wanted to work with her. She had lost everything: her husband, her lover, her career. I didn't feel any satisfaction in her downfall. I didn't want her to suffer. I just wanted her to understand the pain she had caused me. I learned a valuable lesson from this experience. I learned that trust is a precious thing, and once it's broken, it can never be fully repaired. I learned that some people are capable of great cruelty, and that even those closest to you can betray you. But I also learned that it's possible to heal, to move on, and to find love again. As I sit here now, watching the storm rage outside my window, I feel a sense of peace. The pain is still there, but it's no longer all-consuming. I've survived the betrayal, and I've emerged stronger and wiser. And for that, I am grateful.